Welcome to Mindset Review, where every story touches your heart and helps you see life in a new way. Sunrise. Today's story is called The Broken Pot, a beautiful tale about imperfection, purpose, and self-acceptance. Sometimes we think our flaws make us weak. But what if those cracks are the very reason flowers grow along our path? Cherry blossom. Stay till the end, because this story might just change the way you see yourself forever. Dizzy. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village at the foot of a mountain, there lived a kind old man who made his living by carrying water. Every morning, he would walk down the dusty path to the river with a long bamboo pole across his shoulders. On each end of the pole hung a large clay pot. One of these pots was perfect, smooth, strong, and beautifully made. It never leaked a drop of water. The other pot, however, had a crack along its side. Water dripped from it every step of the way back to the old man's home. By the time they reached the house, the cracked pot was only half full, while the perfect pot still brimmed with water. For 2 years the old man carried water every day, one full pot and one half-full pot. The perfect pot was proud of its achievement, but the poor broken pot was ashamed of its imperfection. It would often look at the perfect pot and sigh, "I am so embarrassed. Every day you do your job perfectly, but I only deliver half of what I'm supposed to. My crack makes me useless." The perfect pot remained silent, gleaming in the sunlight. But the old man, who had overheard the cracked pot's sad words, smiled gently. The next morning, as they walked the same path to the river, the old man spoke softly. "Dear pot, have you noticed the beautiful flowers growing along your side of the path?" The pot looked and saw wildflowers of many colors, pink, yellow, white, and blue, dancing in the morning breeze. "They are lovely," said the pot, "but what do they have to do with me?" The old man chuckled. "Everything, my friend. I always knew about your crack. So I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day as I carried water from the river, you watered them. For 2 years, I've been able to pick those beautiful flowers to decorate my table. Without your flaw, there would have been no beauty to brighten my home." The cracked pot fell silent. Tears of joy filled its eyes as it finally understood. Its imperfection had created something beautiful. From that day on, the pot no longer felt ashamed. It walked proudly beside the old man, knowing it had a purpose, a special one. Blossom moral of the story. Each of us has our own cracks, our own flaws. But those imperfections make us unique and give us the power to create beauty in ways we might never see ourselves. When we accept who we are and use our strengths, even our weaknesses, for good, life becomes full of unexpected blessings. Speech balloon lesson summary. Don't be ashamed of your flaws. They might be the reason for someone else's happiness. Every weakness can hide a strength. True beauty often comes from imperfection. Purpose isn't about being perfect. It's about being useful and kind. Cherry Blossom, The Broken Pot Part 2. The Journey of Gratitude. After that day, the cracked pot no longer felt small or useless. Every morning, as the old man lifted it onto the bamboo pole, it would shine with quiet pride. On their way back from the river, the pot would look down at the flowers it had helped grow and whisper to them, "Bloom brightly, my little friends. You remind me that even broken things can do good." The perfect pot, however, started to notice something. For so long it had been proud of being flawless. But now, seeing the joy on the old man's face as he admired the flowers, it began to feel empty. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, the perfect pot finally spoke. "Old man," it said softly, "I have always done my job well, yet today I feel that I have given you less than my cracked friend. Why is that?" The old man smiled. His eyes sparkled kindly in the fading light. "Ah," he said, "you have given me water, and for that I am always thankful. But the cracked pot has given me life, flowers, color, and joy. Both of you are precious, my dear pots, because each gives in a different way." The perfect pot bowed its head, humbled. That night, as the moon rose, both pots rested side by side, quietly grateful. One for learning its worth, and the other for discovering that perfection alone is not the greatest gift. From then on, the old man often invited children from the village to walk along his flower path. He told them the story of his 2 pots and how the cracked one made the world more beautiful. The children would laugh and promise to remember. We'll never be ashamed of our cracks again. Tulip moral of part 2. Perfection without purpose is empty. Every gift, whether strong or broken, has value. Gratitude transforms comparison into peace. The world needs all kinds of people, the perfect, the cracked, and everyone in between. The Broken Pot Part 3. The Boy Who Found His Light. Years passed. The old man grew older, his beard turning as white as the snow on the mountain peaks. Still, every morning he walked to the river with his 2 pots, the perfect one and the cracked one. And every afternoon, he told their story to children who stopped by to see the flowers along the path. Among those children was a quiet boy named Arun. He was small for his age and often walked with his head down. The other kids in the village teased him because he stuttered when he spoke. One day, after hearing the story again, Arun stayed behind while the others ran home laughing and playing. He looked up at the old man and asked softly, "Sir, do you think someone like me, who can't even talk properly, could ever be like the broken pot?" The old man smiled warmly and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "My dear boy," he said, "the world needs your kind of brokenness." The pot gave flowers without meaning to, and maybe your voice will one day give comfort to someone who needs to hear it. Don't hide your cracks, Arun. Let them shine. Arun didn't understand fully that day, but he felt something change inside him. A tiny spark of hope, like a candle lit in a dark room. Seedling years later, Arun grew up to be a teacher in the same village. He still spoke with a slight stutter, but the children loved him. He was kind, patient, and always encouraged his students to be proud of who they were. Every year, on the first day of school, he would take his students down the same path. The path still lined with wildflowers, and tell them, "These flowers exist because of a pot that was cracked. So never feel ashamed of what makes you different. Sometimes that's exactly where your beauty lives." The children would smile, some with tears in their eyes, realizing that their own cracks might be special too. Droplet moral of part 3. Every generation can pass on kindness and courage. The smallest encouragement can change a life forever. True beauty lies not in being perfect but in being real. When you heal yourself, you light the way for others. The Broken Pot Part 4. The Garden of Kindness. Many years had passed since Arun became a teacher. The village had changed, new houses, new people, and a new school stood near the foot of the mountain. But one thing never changed, the flower path that led to the river. Every morning its colors danced in the sunlight, pink, yellow, purple, and white, just like before. Arun still told his students the story of the broken pot. The children loved it. They called it, the story of the flowers that laughed. One day, a group of his students came to him with bright eyes and an idea. "Sir," they said, "we want to make something. Something that will remind everyone in the village not to be ashamed of their cracks." Arun smiled, his heart swelling with pride. He asked, "What do you have in mind, my children?" Cherry blossom, a plan takes shape. For weeks, the children gathered old, broken pots from the village, chipped ones, cracked ones, even ones that could no longer hold water. They cleaned them, painted them in bright colors, and filled each with soil and flower seeds. When the seeds began to sprout, the children carried the pots to the schoolyard and placed them in a circle. They called it the Garden of Kindness. At the center, they placed a small stone with words carved into it. In every crack there is a story. In every flaw there is a flower. The villagers came to see the garden. Many who had once laughed at Arun's stutter now stood silently, touched by the beauty and the message. Some brought their own broken pots to add to the garden. A woman who had lost her husband, a boy with a limp, an old man who could no longer see clearly. Each pot told its own story, and soon the garden became a symbol of hope for the entire village. A visit to the river. One evening, Arun walked alone to the river, the same path the old water carrier had once walked. The flowers still bloomed along the side, and the wind carried their sweet scent. Arun closed his eyes and whispered, "Old man, your story still lives. The cracked pot still waters flowers, in every heart it has touched." He smiled, feeling the soft glow of the sunset on his face. The river sparkled like glass, and for a moment it seemed to whisper back, "Thank you for keeping the story alive." Blossom moral of part 4. When we share kindness, it grows like flowers from a broken pot. One act of love can inspire generations. Every flaw can be transformed into beauty with compassion. Stories have power. They keep hearts blooming long after we're gone. The Broken Pot Part 5. The Legacy of Light. Years passed. Arun was now an old man, his hair silver like moonlight, his voice softer but still filled with warmth. He walked slower these days, yet his heart remained young, full of gratitude and love for the world around him. The Garden of Kindness had become famous beyond the village. People came from nearby towns to see the colorful pots and to hear the story of the cracked pot that once watered flowers along the path. Every spring, the villagers held a festival called the Day of the Broken Pot. They decorated their homes with clay pots of every shape and size, some painted, some chipped, some old, each one symbolizing that imperfection is not the end, but a beginning. Cherry blossomed the return of the pot. One day, as the villagers prepared for the festival, a little girl named Lena, one of Arun's youngest students, found something half buried near the riverbank. It was an old broken clay pot, cracked and faded, with only half its body intact. Curious, she carried it carefully to Arun's house. "Sir," she said, "look what I found by the river. It looks very old. Do you think it could be the broken pot?" Arun took the pot in his trembling hands. The crack was in the same place the old man once described in his story. His eyes filled with tears. "Yes, my dear," he whispered. "I believe it is. Tulip, a symbol of hope." At the festival that year, the villagers placed the old cracked pot in the center of the Garden of Kindness. They filled it with soil and planted a single white jasmine flower inside, a flower that stood for purity, peace, and gratitude. Arun spoke to the crowd, his voice trembling but full of meaning. This pot once believed it was broken and useless, but because of its crack, flowers bloomed, hearts healed, and stories grew. It reminds us all that even when we think we are too damaged to make a difference, life finds a way to turn our pain into beauty. The people clapped, many with tears in their eyes. Children placed candles around the pot, their warm light dancing in the night breeze. And as the stars filled the sky, the cracked pot glowed gently, a silent symbol of every heart that ever felt not enough, yet gave love anyway. Epilogue. The story lives on. When Arun passed away peacefully years later, the villagers built a small stone plaque beside the pot. It read, "To those who think they are broken, may you remember, your cracks let the light shine through." Every spring, flowers still bloom along the river path, watered by rain and memory. Children still tell the story of the old man, the teacher, and the cracked pot, a story of imperfection, kindness, and eternal beauty. And so the broken pot, once ashamed of its flaw, became a legend of light for generations to come. Droplet Moral of Part 5. Final Lesson. True legacy is not built on perfection but on love. Our flaws can become our greatest teachers. When we share our story, we help others heal. The light that enters through our cracks becomes our gift to the world. Every crack has a story, and every story holds a light. Busy. The broken pot thought it was useless, but its flaw became the reason flowers bloomed for everyone to see. Cherry blossom. Maybe your struggles, your scars, your imperfections are not signs of weakness but marks of purpose. Remember, the world doesn't need perfect people, it needs real ones, who love, who try, and who keep giving even when they feel broken. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mindset Review, where every story helps you grow a little closer to your best self. Sunrise. Until next time, keep shining through your cracks. Sparkles.